You can be winning on the outside and still feel completely lost on the inside. This video is for the woman who has grown, evolved, built a life, but feels deeply exhausted from always being strong. For the woman who wakes up tired even after sleeping. For the woman who looks at everything she has achieved and still feels that something is missing. Let me say this clearly from the start: you are not losing your mind. And no, you are not weak. What you are experiencing has a name: emotional exhaustion disguised as success. It's the feeling of constantly being on edge, of carrying everything alone, of feeling guilty for not being happy when, on paper, you should be grateful. It's the fear of slowing down and falling apart, and the quiet frustration of realizing that the more you achieve, the emptier you feel inside. And this doesn't happen because you're ungrateful or because you're not trying hard enough. It happens because no one ever taught us emotional intelligence. No one taught us how to deal with frustration without pushing ourselves to the limit. No one taught us how to feel fear without freezing or running away. No one taught us how to experience guilt without punishing ourselves. No one taught us how to sit with rejection, loneliness, or the constant feeling of not being enough. So we learned automatically. We learned to react instead of respond. We learned to pressure ourselves instead of care for ourselves. We learned to do more instead of live better, and over time, this became a pattern, a cycle, a way of treating ourselves every single day. Here's the truth no one tells you. Most of your fears, insecurities, and emotional reactions do not define who you are. They were learned. They are emotional patterns you develop to survive, to be accepted, to not disappoint, to hold everything together. And anything that was learned can be unlearned. You don't need to fix who you are. You need to reprogram how you respond to what you feel. Emotional intelligence is not about controlling emotions. It's about noticing how you react under pressure. It's about becoming aware of how you speak to yourself when you make mistakes. It's about understanding that emotional maturity is not the absence of fear. It's the ability to not let fear make decisions for you. It's knowing how to feel without losing yourself, acting without hurting yourself, growing without destroying yourself in the process. Because real prosperity is not just about collecting achievements. Prosperity is having the emotional structure to sustain what you build. Recognition without inner peace becomes heavy. Growth without emotional health becomes chronic anxiety. Achievement without self-awareness becomes a cage. Mental and emotional health are not luxuries, they are the foundation. And building that foundation requires something that scares many people: looking inward. Not with judgment, not with self-criticism, but with honesty. Awareness is not self-attack. Awareness is responsibility. It's choosing to step out of autopilot and consciously decide how you want to respond to life. I want to see you strong, not strong in the sense of enduring everything in silence, but strong enough to know when to pause. I want to see you confident, with a self-worth that is built, not inflated. A self-worth that doesn't depend on constant approval, that doesn't collapse under criticism, that doesn't disappear when something goes wrong. I want to see you facing challenges with emotional responsibility, understanding that growth is a process and consistency matters more than perfection. I want to see you breaking cycles that have repeated for generations. Becoming the woman who chose not to abandon herself, even when no one else believed. And doing all of this without destroying yourself along the way. And if you have a spiritual connection to God, to a higher purpose, to something greater than you, that can be real and meaningful. But here's where many people get confused. Faith does not eliminate the process. Faith supports the process. You still have work to do. You still have patterns to unlearn. You still need to build emotional health. Growth requires awareness, practice, and the willingness to look inward, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it hurts, even when it would be easier to avoid. Everything changes the moment you decide to observe yourself. Not to judge, not to pressure, but to notice, to name what you feel, to understand where your patterns came from, and to consciously choose what you want to keep and what you're ready to transform. If this video resonated with you, give it a like. It helps this message reach more women who need to hear it. And if you want more content about real emotional intelligence, not shallow self-help, subscribe to the channel. You are far more capable than you think.